Hi, my name is Judy and I'm the City Stitcher, and welcome to my Flosstube channel. Today is Sunday, August the 16th, and it is a glorious day where I am. The sun is shining, the weather is going to be beautifully warm according to people like me. According to some other people, they think it's a little bit too warm, but for me this is my kind of weather and I'm loving every minute of it. It is supposed to be a lovely warm week every single day this week, so people like me are going, it's going to be an awesome week. Doesn't matter what happens, it's just going to be awesome because the weather's just glorious and lovely. I get very excited about things when it's my weather. It doesn't happen all that often here, but it's another glorious day. Sadly glorious enough that for a fair chunk of this morning I've been in my head singing to myself, "It's a glorious day in the neighborhood," the Mr. Rogers song. I'm not going to subject you to any of that, so don't worry about that, but sadly that's what's been going on in my head. So for any of you that are new, welcome to my channel. I hope you stay for a while and enjoy what you see. If you're coming back, thank you for coming back. You know better than lots of the other people what exactly is going to happen on this one, and some of the things you are going to see you already know. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to start with the topic. Let's talk World Cross Stitch Day. So World Cross Stitch Day was on Friday, August the 14th this year, and so I hope all of you took the opportunity to find some amount of time. Didn't matter whether it was a lot of time or a little bit of time, but I hope you all found some amount of time to do some stitching in honor of World Cross Stitch Day and the global cross-stitching community that we all are a part of. I, myself, did stitch on World Cross Stitch Day. It turned out to be a bit of a longer day than normal at work, but I came home and went, it's World Cross Stitch Day, I have to stitch today, particularly because on last week's video I told all of you that I wanted all of you who were watching to stitch on World Cross Stitch Day. So I really felt like I had to. Not that I minded, it was all good, and so I did. So with that, let's get right into the stitching that I did this week. No big surprise to anybody. Want to know what I worked on this week? I worked on Marbeck. So I'm working on the center panel of the Marbeck Nativity, the 5-piece nativity scene by Serendipity Designs, also known Marbeck, which is why I call it Marbeck. So that's what it looks like. I'm doing this because this is the part of the picture that I was focused on stitching this week. So where did I get to? So I got to, so I finished up all of this gray around the pen that's holding the donkey. Sadly, I started working on the shepherd, which meant that I needed to scroll up so the donkey is essentially no longer visible. There's the top of the donkey's ears. You can see a little bit of his neck, but other than that, the donkey is now, after one glorious week in Flosstube land, the donkey has gone away. So, so I finished this. I worked on the hay here and a little bit down here. So the stitching as well as the back stitching that goes in there. And just in case anybody's wondering, I'm choosing to do the back stitching as I'm going along. So normally when you hear people talking about back stitching, they always say, you know, you do all of the cross stitching and then you do the back stitching and then you do the beads. Where metallic threads comes into it, you know, depends on who you're talking to. Clearly I spent a lot of time doing metallic threads. Welcome to the star. I'm choosing to do the back stitching because this is a large piece, and I think if I got to the end of the stitching and went, and now you have to go do all of the back stitching, I wouldn't enjoy that. So when I'm done all of the stitching for an area and I know that there's no other stitching around it that will impact how the back stitching looks, I go ahead and I back stitch. So for example, on the donkey, right? You know, given that the star was complete and had the stitching below it, right? So the donkey was ready to be backstitched. So the donkey was backstitched last week. So I got the hay backstitched this week and proceeded to work on this lovely shepherd. Now I had to scroll up because the shepherd is bigger than, you know, I started that lovely blue outlining that I talked about last week and went, man, this blue keeps going and going and going and going on the design. And so I measured, as I am wont to do when those types of questions occur to me. This shepherd is 5 inches tall by 4.5 inches wide. He's not a little shepherd. He's a big shepherd. So hence I had to scroll up so you can just see the top of where the shepherd's head is supposed to be, and I scrolled up because again I was working on all of this blue. I also tend to be a color completer in a section. So once I started on the blue color, you know, that is this sort of this dark color on the outer edge here, I went in and I completed all of that color for this particular shepherd. Not that I completed all of that color that's necessarily in this particular area of this bottom half of the center panel, but I did all of it for the shepherd. And in fact, I have, what you see here is, although it's really hard to tell, 3 colors of blue are in there, and 3 colors are now complete. There are 3 more colors left to come before I'm done the blue in that particular shepherd, but 3 are complete, 3 blues left to go, and then the rest of the colors. So that's what I got accomplished on Marbeck this week. And for World Cross Stitch Day, I stitched on something different. I know, hard to believe. You're going to actually get to see something else. Now, it's not something that's going to be new if you've been watching my channel for any length of time, but it is not Marbeck, and it's more than Marbeck, so that should be exciting for some of you. So in honor of World Cross Stitch Day, even though I'm trying to focus on Marbeck, and we'll be doing Marbeck from now till when Marbeck is complete, I thought in honor of World Cross Stitch Day, I should stitch on something else just to provide a little variety to myself, not to mention all of you. So on World Cross Stitch Day, I hauled out one of my Mania starts. So technically this is something that you haven't seen in the last 3 months. I know, wait for it, 3 months. I know, it's the middle of August. So what did I work on? I worked on the Hinzeit Mini Block Autumn. So that's what that looks like. And so where did I get to? So here's where I am now. Now, it's been 3 months since any of you have seen this, so it's probably a little hard for some of you to understand what's happened. And in fact, this represents more than one night of stitching. So again, as I mentioned, on World Cross Stitch Day, I got home a lot later than I normally would. Did stitch that day, but then I really wanted to stitch more, and so I worked on this yesterday as well. So when you last saw this particular piece, you would have had these 2 blocks, this top line to here, and everything else that you see here. So the completion of this particular block, the letter U, and the finishing of the border all the way around is what I completed between my stitching on Friday and my stitching on Saturday. So I'm very happy with that progress. That means I am now over halfway through this particular project. It's not that big, I know. It's about, I want to say, maybe 97 by 41, I think is what the stitch count for this is. But all I have left to do now is these two lines between the A and the U and the U and the T, 3 letters, and put the silver charms on there. So the other part that's interesting about this, so what thread am I using for this? I'm actually braced for it using the called for thread. Rare for me, I know. It's Wildflowers Fiesta. I know, glare, sorry about that. So that's what the thread looks like. And I'm very happy for a fall piece, which we all know these are not really my colors, but for a fall piece, I'm very happy with how the variegation is coming out. It's really hard to see that on the video, but in real life, I'm quite happy with how it's working. Now, the interesting part is, part of the reason why I chose to finish the border all the way around is because I was very happy. You know, I started here at the top of this part of the block and worked my way around. And I was very happy with how the variegation showed up around here. So then I was very careful when I cut off my strand for here to make sure that it would end up looking very similar in terms of where the color changes were coming and where they occurred as I went around this border. So, end of that, was very happy with this. Then I looked at, you know, this block and went, okay, I've got 2 more lines left to go. So the funny thing is I came back over here and went, you know, in my usual ridiculous way. I'm actually really happy with how the shading on these 2 lines came out. And ridiculously, I want to actually replicate as much as I can how the variegation in these 2 particular lines came out when I finished the 2 lines over here. So what that means for me is that when I go to stitch those, I'm going to probably do what I call, and others, not necessarily everybody call, fussy cut my thread. And what fussy cutting your thread means from my perspective is you're going into an over-dyed variegated thread and you're going to specifically choose a portion of the thread that is going to give you the variegation that you are looking for however many stitches you're planning on doing. So yes, for these next 2 lines, I'm going to have to, you know, go in and fussy cut my thread and make sure that I can, because I want to replicate these because I was very happy with how they came out. The other thing that I'm also really happy with is the variegation that's coming through. And again, because it's really hard to tell, the way that I'm choosing to thread my needle for how I do these letters. So for example, I'm deliberately choosing that because there was less orange in this line, that the orange part of the variegation showed up in the letter, moving to the teal because there's more orange over here. So again, so for my aesthetic and how I view this, it's just because I'm trying to get those, you know, those variations. So, and again, as I go through the 3 letters in my head, I have a particular version of where I think I want the colors to be. So even when I go to stitch those 3 letters, I'm probably going to end up fussy cutting my fussy cutting my thread when I go to stitch those, because there's a particular way that I want the variegation to show up when I do those. So when am I going to work on this again? I don't know. But I did have a moment where I said, you know, for 2 evenings of work, I felt I made decent progress, and I went, it wouldn't take you that long to finish this. Fall is coming at the end of September. If I devoted a little bit of time to this every week, probably not all that much. If I did a little bit of time to this every week, I could probably have it finished by the time official fall starts. FFO, no. Finish the stitching, yes. You know I'm really horrible at actually doing the FFO part of anything. But then I could say that I had it finished. one of my manias would be complete. Anyway, so that's that. And I'm going to have to do, I noticed in last week's video that I did not do my beauty shot, so here we go again. I'm going to hold something up and smile. I know it's weird from a video perspective, but this is how I help YouTube get the right pictures, so it's not those frames of video of me doing all sorts of weird facial expressions, which sometimes I think they really do set their algorithms to try to find the weirdest expression that anybody has. So I try to make sure that there's something different there for me to choose from. So that's where I'm at on that. I will say the other stitching term that I'm going to throw out there is when I was stitching this border. Right, so my whole goal was to finish it all the way back around. And man, did I cut my thread close. And so in my world, I call that, certainly at the end of my stitching on Saturday night, I was playing thread chicken. So what's thread chicken? So we all know what when you play chicken is when you're in vehicles, which I'm not advocating. Safety first. I'm not encouraging anybody to play chicken in real life. Thread chicken is when it's the race between you and the thread as to which of you is going to, swerve before the finish. So I did manage to win this particular battle with of playing thread chicken, but whew, it was close. So, because I knew that the video was coming and this was last night's stitching, I saved the tail that I snipped off after I tied on the end so I could show you how close I came on my thread chicken. So see that little piece of floss there? That's when after I'd sewn in my end, that's all that was left. So it was pretty close. If I had had one more stitch that I had to do, I would have lost at thread chicken, and I probably would have had to have pulled a stitch back out to tie in my end, but whoo, it was close. Made those last few stitches really slow, but I won. So I'm quite happy with how that came around, and I was very happy that I chose to stitch on something different for World Cross Stitch Day. It was very exciting. And exciting, hopefully exciting for you because you got to see something different. All right. Other things to talk about. So I'm just going to do another plug for our glorious Anne Morison. So if you go back 2 videos and you want to hear all about Anne Morison and everything that's going on with Anne Morison, so this is an exclusive chart from Hands Across the Sea Samplers, exclusive to Traditional Stitches in honor of their 20th anniversary, which is a milestone accomplishment. So again, I'll put a link down below in the notes, both to the video where I talk a lot and explain a lot about Anne Morison if you're interested in hearing, as well as the link to where you can purchase this, because it can only be purchased from Traditional Stitches as it's an exclusive chart. So if you're interested, get your orders in. I'm just encouraging you. Okay, so that's Anne Morison. You're probably going to hear about Anne Morison next week as well. All right, let's talk about a free chart. So this is where I combine a little bit about the free chart. It actually ties into a little bit of the haul. So I had haul back on Flosstube number 16, which we never ever got through. And I don't think we're probably going to get through all of it today either, because it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. And I'm wanting to finish my video and get everything set up. Get it loading and all that kind of stuff so I can go out and enjoy the glorious weather. So, but let's talk free chart. So this is Glendon Place's Hope and Strength, which they did as part of, the free charts that designers were putting out in recognition of what was happening with COVID and everybody being in quarantine and staying at home and all sorts of things, they came up with this chart. And it is a free chart. So again, in the notes section below, there will be a link directly to where you can download this. Now, the interesting thing is I'm going to try it. So when I film these, what I see in the video is backwards. So I'm going to see if I can't read this correctly backwards. If I get the words wrong, just go with it. At the end of the day, oh, I can't do this. At the end of the day, all you need is hope and strength. Hope that it will get better and strength to hold on until it does, which I thought was a very good sentiment, particularly for what we're all experiencing as we go through a global pandemic, which is a new experience for all of us. So, okay, so a couple of things about this. So it's a free chart. The stitches included in this chart are only full crosses. There's no back stitching, there's no partial stitches, and there are no specialty stitches. So technically anybody can do this. I will warn you, as is typical with a lot of Glendon Place charts, this is not a small chart. This is a big chart. So the stitch count for this chart, it's 197 stitches wide by 205 stitches high. So this is not a little, 3x3 thing. This is a big one. So that's what it looks like. How does it tie into haul? Well, it ties into haul because when they announced this chart and this free chart, you know me, I'm swift at a download of a free chart because I'm always afraid that they won't be free forever. So I very swiftly, when I found out about it, went to the Glendon Place website, downloaded the chart, looked at the chart, and went, these are my colors. I enjoy this. And I promptly went to my LNS and ordered the specialty fibers for this. So believe it or not, hard to tell from this, technically this chart requires just under 2,000 beads. So the called for beads are Mill Hill, and there are 5 different colors. I will say most of those I had, I think I only had one that I was missing, and I'm looking at my pile of haul things over here, and I don't think I have it there, so I think the one that I was missing, anyway, whatever. I had to get one. I don't think it's sitting here in the pile, but certainly I had to get the Dinky Dye silks for this. I had a couple of them, but I did not have all of them for this. And particularly so it calls for Dinky Dye's natural. It calls for 4 skeins of natural. So I certainly didn't have 4 skeins of natural in the house. As much as I have stash, I didn't have that. So the haul is, so I ordered these whenever this chart came out, and this was quite some time ago, but welcome to the effect of COVID on all of our LNSs and supply chain. You've heard me go on incessantly about supply chain, but that's because it's a factor. So I'm just sorting my silks out down here so that they will look pretty, because we all know pretty is important when I hold them up. You ready? So what I've done here is I've just pulled 1 skein of each of the colors. I did have to, as I said, I did have to order multiples of a few of them, particularly the natural, because it needed 4 skeins. But this is the color palette. Those are my colors. In fact, okay, I didn't do this on purpose. Anywho, I did not dress to coordinate with the palette of this particular chart. It just happened to work out that way. I have a friend who's going to bug me about that. But anyway, those are lovely. I just love them. Love, 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 love. And so this is just a glorious variegated. So brilliant, fantastic, love it. And again, as I said many videos ago, I totally blame my mother, because she's the one who trained me that if your chart calls for specialty anything, when you get the chart, you get the specialty things. And it's happened within my lifetime. So Mirabilia's Seaside Kingdom, there were a number of Mill Hill treasures that were required in the original chart that are no longer being produced, and you can't get them. So in my head, when I hear about things like that, I go, ooh, I was trained well. It does mean it adds to the stash. When am I going to start this? Nobody knows, but I have the threads for it. And again, so what I will do from a stash perspective is I will package these up and I will put them in a bag with the copy of this. So I downloaded the chart, but I haven't printed it out because I am not planning on starting it necessarily anytime soon. But I have printed this out, so it will go into a bag with this, so I know what this is for. And then it will go live with the rest of my Glendon Place charts. So the other thing that I wanted to show you while we're here is the fabric called for on this is Picture This Plus Jade. Now it calls for a 32 count Picture This Plus Jade. I only have 28 count jade, but if nothing else, it will give you a sense of what it looks like. I will also caution you that the jade that I have is as is wont to do when you're talking to me. I prefer my fabrics in an even weave as opposed to a linen. So what I have is 28 count lugana is what I have. So I'm just going to transfer my lovely threads on top of my lugana and hold it up again. I know I should be faster at this, but I'm not because I want them to look pretty. Okay. So there we go. Isn't that lovely? I think it looks great. Again, am I going to start this anytime soon? No. Why? Because I'm working on Marback. Anywho. So that's what it looks like on Jade. Picture This Plus Lugana. I think it looks lovely. Lovely, lovely. These are my colors. Anyway, no stitching on this until, you know, Marback gets further along. And we've already set 2 rewards for myself already, so I can't add a third, right? I've already said, it's like, maybe if I'm doing really well by October, I will allow myself to start that Jeanette Douglas Blooming Bouquets sal at the end of October. So I have to do good stitching on Marback if I want to join that sal and pretend to start something. And the other thing is that when I'm done Marback, don't forget, I'm going to start a completely new chart, and I'm going to use that Caron Water Lilies Hudson's Bay, which looks beautiful. So I'm already talking about all the rewards I'm planning on giving myself when I finish, you know, when I accomplish select goals in Marback. So, you know, I can't add, you know, 47 goals. Anyway, because I think that would slow down the progress on Marback, and the sooner I'm done with Marback, the sooner I get to do all the other things. So those dinky dies came into the stash. Now, they came a few weeks ago. I think I had them when I was doing video 16, but I did order them back when the chart got released. But again, welcome to the effects of COVID on our LNSs. And everything everything slowed down and all these shops. And don't forget, there are a lot of places, a lot of manufacturers and areas of the distributors where they are limited to 50% of their staff. Anywho, and a few other things going on with the postal system, which we're not going to get into here. But anyway, so one of the other things that I picked up was this has got a slightly funny story. It's really exciting. Gentle Arts, actually forget the thing. Gentle Arts chalk. I like a lot of those chalkboard designs that are coming out, and chalk is gentle. Yes, could I use DMC white? Yes. Sometimes I like using the fancy floss. Does it look dramatically different than DMC white? No, that's not the point. It's because I feel fancy when I use the fancy floss, when I stitch those designs. I know it's a little bit ridiculous, but you've technically met me through my videos. So the ridiculous is, you know, not surprising. The reason why I'm hauling this out is the interesting story about this is because this is Gentle Arts thread. And I can tell you exactly the day that I put this order in with my LNS, because it was the Friday that my LNS was holding their Nashville open house. So they had their open house the weekend of March the 13th. I was there bright and sunshiny on March the 13th. It was really exciting. And I did my shopping from Nashville. See earlier video. And then I went, by the way, let's order me some, so these are 2 10-yard skeins of Gentle Arts chalk. I mean, you know, when you get it in, you get it in. I'm not worried about it. It's not like I have nothing. It's not like I have nothing else to stitch. Marbeck. I wasn't, anyway. But Gentle Arts got closed down. So it's taken until, you know, July for the shop to receive its first shipment from Gentle Arts since March. Anyway, that's why I keep going, you know, why I keep going, like, I feel so badly for Gentle Arts. Not that I should probably feel sorry for every, you know, producer of things that feed into the supply chain for our lovely hobby. Because I think they're all of them feeling the effects. But I think Gentle Arts keeps coming to mind is because it was like I had an order in with Gentle Arts and I had to wait and wait and wait, which was fine. Hey, safety first. Safety first. Let's keep everybody alive as much as we can. That would be fantastic. All right. So that's part of the haul from a couple of weeks ago. I have more haul. I will taunt you and say I did stock my LNS. Remember last week when I was going on about Picture This Plus and that my LNS had gotten a box from Picture This Plus, and so I needed to stock them. I was successful about stocking them, but I'm not going to show that to you this week because I'm going to show you something else from my haul. So I think there's going to be haul like every week for several weeks, but I'm going to talk about the relevant, the haul that I think you need to know about this particular week. Sorry, I'm just making sure that everything's in the right order. So I found an Etsy seller. Yeah, so a Flosstuber showed something and I went, ooh. And so I promptly rushed out. I think it, like, bad enough, like, I think I stopped the Flosstube partway through the Flosstube to go to Etsy and have a look. And then I got sucked in, as I always do, and I put probably 20 charts into my shopping cart. I need 20 charts like I need a hole in the head. I need any more charts like I need a hole in the head. It's going to take me forever to finish Marbeck. But anyway, and so I whittled it down. I didn't buy 20, but this particular Etsy seller was having a sale and all of the charts were 50% off. Now, the Flosstuber said that this particular Etsy seller regularly has sales. So it's not like I couldn't get this sale type pricing later. I just didn't know when. And my whole thing is, while I'm thinking about them, that's when I should get them. I know the rule theoretically should be like, if you walk away and a week later, if you're still thinking about it, you should come back and do it. When it comes to the charts on Etsy, that's not what I do. But I whittled it down. I only bought 6. So I'm going to show you the 6, but I think the thing that's important for you is that I paid $18 Canadian for these charts in total for all 6 of them. So I really felt that about $3 a chart was more than reasonable. In fact, was quite, on the low end of pricing for charts. So I bought them. When am I starting them? Okay, by now you should know. Who knows? Who knows in my lifetime if I ever do them, but I have them in my stash. And so far, they've even brought me joy just looking at them. So I printed out, so they were download PDFs. So I downloaded all of those things, but I have printed out the cover of what they look like. I'm also going to warn you, you're going to see generally a theme here. Because if you know anything about me and you've seen or heard me talk about things, I like my geometric charts. These are some geometric charts. So the name of the Etsy seller is 2x2 Stitch Art. The number 2 X, the number 2 Stitch Art. Link directly to the Etsy seller's shop will be in the notes below. And she has a wide variety of patterns. They're not all like this. I've got a couple of different versions of things in here. They are not all like this. She's got other stuff there as well. I checked before I started filming this to make sure the sale is still going on. So I don't know when the sale started. I don't know when the sale is ending. The sale is not on all of her charts, but it happened to be on several that I like. Okay, here are my charts. Isn't it pretty? And she does a really great job. So for the charts like this, she shows them in different colorways. So clearly with this, you could do it as a solid color. You could use a variegated color of any color that makes you happy. You could do 2 colors, right? You could do one for like all of these like center parts, and you could do a different variegated for these like interior borders. There's like, you could alternate between these patterns and what you do. Like there's 27 things you could do. You can make every single one of these a different color and do a rainbow or whatever, like a game. But I just looked at, yeah, I love this one. Is it little? Of course not. Don't be ridiculous. Why would I choose something little? It's not horrendous. It's not one of those charts that's like 300, by 300 or larger. I have some of those too, but never mind that. But it's not petite either. So this chart is 225 by 225. But I just loved it. Loved this. This isn't my favorite one. This is my second favorite. But that's what I'm starting off with. We're going to finish with my favorite. So that's one. See, here comes something different. So this is, now it looks quite pixelated because I'm holding it really close and I printed it really large so you could see it. So this is a small one. I did a small one. So this one is only, I keep looking at the back page, which is not this one. This one is only 80 by 80. And it's because I love Easter lilies. So Easter lilies is in my top 3 favorite flowers. So, and I don't find a lot of Easter lily picture cross-stitch charts that I actually like. There's usually Easter lilies with 12 other flowers, and I really just want the lilies. So this one, I'm okay with these. Purple, we all know I'm okay with purple. So anyway, and it's little, so I felt better about that. 80 by 80. It's something much smaller. So there's my lilies. This is a poppy. I'm gonna have to check and make sure that I agree with the reds that they've chosen for this particular poppy, but I like that one as well. This one's reasonable, not too bad either. So this is 120 by 122. We're back to geometric. And again, you'll notice I've printed all of the geometrics out in blue because I really like blue as my favorite color. But again, on the Etsy shop, she actually shows them in a number of different colors. So if you want to see what this looks like in a green or a red or a purple, it's probably on there. So again, I know I like my geometric charts, but see, like the interior is different. Yes, there's a lot of border. Yes, there's more than one border. I don't mind those. It doesn't drive me nuts like it does some people. Sorry, my voice is going here. Yes, another one. This one's 237 by 237. Sorry, I'm going to have to take a drink. I don't know. Hopefully that, oh, there we go. Back to normal. All right. And last but by no means least, this is the one that got me sucked into this world. Look at that. Now, I want to tell you a couple of things about this one too, because it was really interesting. So this is the one that I'd seen somebody working on and enjoyed that. When I went to the website, the interesting thing is you can get just these two, I'm calling them castles, as one chart. And that chart was about, let's call it just over $3 Canadian. The cost to get this entire chart, and so this chart, yeah, this is a big one. You know I'm not subtle about these things. This chart is 291 by 291. The cost for all of this was $3.80. So it worked out to about for 75 cents Canadian different, I could get these. Of course I was getting the whole thing. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually like all of this together. But the other reason that I was looking at this is when you do the math on the 291, which I know none of you are doing right now because you have no idea where I'm going with this thought. Don't forget, even though I mentioned it on this Flosstube, when Marbeck is done, I get to start something with Caron Water Lilies Hudson's Bay. Now, I don't have enough Hudson's Bay, and again, when you do Caron Water Lilies, you've got to make sure that you've got enough of the color to do the whole thing. Now, of DMC skeins, according to the chart, you need 19 skeins of this, and so I already know that I don't have enough of the Hudson's Bay to do all of this in Hudson's Bay. And I'm okay. I don't know that I would like doing the castle in Hudson's Bay, but this set, or this set, or pick my top 4, because all of these squares are exactly the same. That's the beauty of a geometric pattern, is that I've got 8 squares there. I can choose any 4 of them. And then, you probably didn't notice, but there's one kind of border around these shapes, and there's a different border around the castles. So I've got my choice, and again, because all of these are the exact same size, I can choose either one of them. So I'm really leaning towards that I'm going to pick my favorite 4 of these 8 designs and combine those, and that'll be the piece that I stitch with my Hudson's Bay Caron Water Lilies. Now, it's not that I don't like Lena's cross stitch. I love the Lena's cross stitch ones, but it just means that these are smaller. These are smaller than the ones that I really like. So again, like if you go back to that first one that I showed you, my second favorite, again, this is 225 by 225. Could I do the center square? Sure. And the center square is lovely on its own. Don't get me wrong. I like it. I really like this one. But I just felt that this, with the choosing 4 out of the 8, so I think this is going to be what I do to start using up my Hudson's Bay Caron water lilies, which I will probably start using and then go, oh my goodness, I have to order more right now. Anyway, never mind that. So those are my chart purchases. So again, I will put the link down below. She's having a sale on now. Again, it is not a sale on everything in her store. I would say a lot of it is on sale. And like I say, for 6 charts, so again, some of them are smaller, some of them are larger, you know, and the prices range, you know, depending on the size of the chart. But for 6 patterns, $18 Canadian, which for any Americans that are watching, so a lot less for you. As I say, they were very, very reasonably priced. In fact, I was like going, I think these are on the low end. Again, it's because they were 50% off, but I'm of Scottish descent and I like a good sale. So I bought my charts, so that's part of my haul. Do I have more haul? Yes, I do. But we're coming up, we're over 45 minutes now, and it is a beautiful, glorious day in the neighborhood. So we're going to end this week's Flosstube with that and say thank you for stopping by. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, thoughts, randomness, feel free to put them in the comment section below. I look forward to hearing from any of you. That would be great. And I hope all of you are keeping safe and staying well and getting some stitching done. And with that, I hope you all have a good week, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a good week.